Assalamu alaikum students. This is your instructor Muhammad Umar Khatak for the subject Organizational Theory and Behavior. This is our 14th lecture and chapter number 4. And today our topic is functions and sources of emotions and moods. Functions of emotions. Do emotions make us irrational? How often have you heard someone say, "Oh, you're just being emotional"? The famous astronomer Carl Sagan once wrote, "Where we have strong emotions, we are liable to fool ourselves." These observations suggest rationality and emotion are in conflict, and that if you exhibit emotion, you're likely to act irrationally. One team of authors argues that displaying emotions such as sadness to the point of crying is so toxic to a career that we should leave the room rather than allow others to witness it. These perspectives suggest that demonstration or even experience of emotion can make us weak, brittle, and seem irrational. However, research is increasingly showing that emotions are actually critical to rational thinking. We must have the ability to experience emotions to be rational. Why? Because our emotions provide important information about how we understand the world around us. Would we really want a manager to make a decision about firing an employee without regarding either his or the employee's emotions? The key to good decision making is to employ both thinking and feeling in our decisions. Take example of Phineas Gage, a railroad worker in Vermont, United States. One September day in 1848, while Gage was setting an explosive charge at work, a 3 feet 7 inches iron bar flew into his lower jaw and out through the top of his skull. Remarkably, Gage survived his injury. He was still able to read and speak, and he performed well above average on cognitive ability tests. However, it became clear that Gage had lost his ability to experience emotion. He was emotionless at even the saddest misfortunes or the happiest occasions. Gage's inability to express emotion eventually took him away from his ability to reason. He started making irrational choices about his life, often behaving erratically and against his self interest. Despite being an intelligent man whose intellectual abilities were unharmed by the accident, Gage drifted from job to job, eventually taking up a circus. In commenting on Gage's condition, one expert noted, "Reason may not be as pure as most of us think it is, or wish it were. Emotions and feelings may not be intruders in the bastion of reason at all. They may be enmeshed in its network for worse and for better." The examples of Phineas Gage and many other brain injury studies show us that emotions are critical to rational thinking. We must have the ability to experience emotions to be rational. Why? Because our emotions provide important information about how we understand the world around us. Think about a manager making a decision to fire an employee. Would you really want the manager to make the decision without regarding either his or the employer's emotions? Now, as we said, the key is making a good decision by employing both thinking and feeling. Do emotions make us ethical? A growing body of research has begun to examine the relationship between emotions and moral attitude. It was previously believed that, like decision making in general, most ethical decision making was based on higher order cognitive processes, but research on moral emotions increasingly questioned this perspective. Examples of moral emotions include sympathy for the suffering of others, guilt about our own immoral behavior, anger about injustice done to others, contempt for those who behave unethically, and disgust at violation of moral norms. Numerous studies suggest that these reactions are largely based on feeling rather than cold cognition. Why do we have emotions? What role do they serve? We just discussed few functions that we need them to think rationally and to be ethical. Charles Darwin, however, took a broader approach. In the expression of emotion in man and animals, Darwin argued that emotions developed over time to help humans solve problems. Emotions are useful, he said, because they motivate people to engage in actions that are important for survival. Actions such as foraging for food, seeking shelter, choosing mates, guarding against predators, and predicting others' behavior. For example, disgust, an emotion, motivates us to avoid dangerous or harmful things, such as rotten foods. Excitement, also an emotion, motivates us to take on situations in which we require energy and initiative. For example, tackling a new career. Drawing from Darwin are researchers whose focus on evolutionary psychology. The field of study says we must experience emotion, whether they are positive or negative, because they serve a purpose. For example, you would probably consider jealousy to be a negative emotion. Evolutionary psychologists would argue that it exists in people because it has a useful purpose. Mates may feel jealous to increase the chances that their genes, rather than a rival's genes, are passed on to the next generation. Although we tend to think of anger as being bad, it actually can help us protect our rights when we feel they are being violated. For example, a person showing anger when she's double crossed by a colleague is serving a warning for others not to repeat the same behavior. Consider another example. Rana was a secretary at a prominent law firm. Her boss wouldn't stop touching and grabbing her. His treatment of her made her angry, so she did more than quit. She sued and won $1 million case. It's not that anger is always good, but as with all other emotions, it exists because it serves a useful purpose. Positive emotion also serve a purpose. For example, a service employee who feels empathy for a customer may provide better customer service than a seemingly unfeeling employee. Sources of emotions and moods. Where do emotions and moods come from? Here we discuss some of the primary influences. Personality. Moods and emotions have a trait component. Most people have built in tendencies to experience certain moods and emotions more frequently than others do. People also experience the same emotion with different intensities. Let's contrast Texas Tech basketball coach Bobby Knight to Microsoft CEO Bill Gates. One is easily moved to anger, while the other is relatively distant and unemotional. Knight and Gates probably differ in affect intensity or how strongly they experience their emotions. Effectively intense people experience both positive and negative emotions more deeply. When they're sad, they're really, really sad. And when they're happy, they're really, really happy. Day of the week and time of the day. Are people in their best moods on the weekends? Yes, probably. Research shows that people tend to be in their worst moods, highest negative effect, and lowest positive effect early in the week, and in their best moods, highest positive effect and lowest negative effect late in the week. What about time of the day? We often think that people differ depending on whether they are morning or evening people. However, the vast majority of us follow the same pattern. Regardless of what time people go to bed at night or get up in the morning, levels of positive effect tend to peak around the halfway point between waking and sleeping. Negative effect, however, shows little fluctuation throughout the day. This basic pattern seems to hold whether people describe themselves as morning people or evening people. What does this mean for organizational behavior? Monday morning is probably not the best time to ask someone for a favor or convey bad news. Our workplace interactions will probably be more positive from mid morning onward and also later in the week. Weather. When do you think you would be in a better mood? When it's 70 degrees and sunny, or on a gloomy, cold, rainy day? Many people believe their mood is tied to the weather. However, a fairly large and detailed body of evidence conducted by multiple researchers suggests weather has little or no effect on moods. Contrary to the prevailing cultural view, these data indicate that people do not report a better mood on a bright and sunny days or conversely a worse mood on dark and rainy days. Illusory correlation explains why people tend to think nice weather improves their mood. Stress. As you might imagine, stressful daily events at work, a nasty email, an impending deadline, the loss of a big sale, a reprimand from the boss, negatively affect moods. The effects of stress also build up over time. A constant diet of even low level stressful events has the potential to cause workers to experience gradually increasing level of strain over time. Social activities. Do you tend to be happiest when out with friends? For most people, social activities increase positive mood and have little effect on negative mood. But do people in positive moods seek out social interactions? Or do social interaction cause people to be in good moods? It seems both are true. Sleep. Does lack of sleep make people grumpier? Sleep quality does affect mood. Undergraduates and adult workers who are sleep deprived report greater feelings of fatigue, anger, and hostility. One reason is that poor or reduced sleep impairs decision making and makes it difficult to control emotions. One recent study suggests poor sleep also impairs job satisfaction because people feel fatigued, irritable, and less alert. Exercise. You often hear that people should exercise to improve their moods. Does sweat therapy really work? It appears so. Research consistently shows exercise enhances people's positive mood. While not terribly strong, overall, the effects are strongest for those who are depressed. So, exercise may help put you in a better mood, but don't expect miracles. Age. One study of people ages 18 to 94 revealed that negative emotions seem to occur less as people get older. Periods of highly positive moods lasted longer for older individuals, and bad moods faded more quickly. The study implies emotional experience improves with age. As we get older, we experience fewer negative emotions. Sex. Many people believe that women are more emotional than men. Is there any truth to this? Evidence does confirm women are more emotionally expressive than men. They experience emotions more intensely, they tend to hold on to emotions longer than men. They display more frequent expressions of both positive and negative emotions, except anger. Although there may be innate differences between the genders, research suggests the emotional difference also are due to the different ways men and women have been socialized. Men are taught to be tough and brave, showing emotion is inconsistent with that image. Women, in contrast, are socialized to be nurturing. For instance, women are expected to express more positive emotions on the job, shown by smiling, than men, and they do. This is the end. Thank you.